Hi ladies and gentlemen, it's Rob Wilshire from RG Racing Limited. We are an official Alfano agent in the UK. I'd like to bring you number 3 of our videos. We're going to go and look at the settings button, which is the bottom left. And as you notice, it's now picked up the satellites as I left it by the window for a couple of minutes. And Camberley is about 15-minute drive from me, and Forest Edge is about 20. So it's picked up the nearest one. And even sat at the desk, it's picking up 11 satellites, which I think is pretty good. Anyway, and if you notice on the map, it's got 2 splits. Let's have a look at the settings button. So the first one we're going to look at is the light bulb. So if we press OK, go in, and effectively this changes the brightness and the colour and the power and what the LEDs are going to be bright, how bright it is. If you're never too sure, always look at the info button, press middle right, and it tells you exactly what it's for. So choose the backlight, always on and off, or auto. In this case, the backlight will turn on depending on the ambient brightness. Choose your colour as well as the power of the backlight, and finally choose the power of the LEDs. So press the back, so it's told us what we can pick. Edit button is a little scribbly pen, top right hand corner. We're going to click OK. We're going to leave it on auto. And then we're going to have a look at the colours. We've got purple, Larry green, not bad blue, red, white, orange and purple. Some of the colours is depending on what the visibility is like on the day. If it's really bright, some of the colours are not too good. If it's slightly dark day, some of the other colours that you wouldn't pick on a bright day are really good as well. So we're going to leave it on purple. We're going to look at the different power. So I'm going to click, change it strong, normal, low. So I'm going to leave it on normal, click OK. Wow, that's a bit bright, isn't it? That's the thickness of the brightness of the LEDs, and you can go strong, low and normal. I'm going to leave it on normal. So that is the first button in the settings done. Just press when you're happy, go back to the screen. The next one is the setup. So in here, I'm going to cover this a little bit in more detail later. So standby. So I'm going to press the edit button, and you can change the activation standby 15 minutes. And if you just leave it on its own, it's going to last 300 minutes. Again, if you're not too sure, press the information button. Okay. I normally leave it as standard. Most of their customers do as well. Back, come back down. It's got transmission. This is if you're on a KZ or a supercart or a car. And you will also need a wheel speed sensor to make this work, connected to the driving axle. So there you go. Choose a different transmission and you can set the gears up. So as you go through the gearbox, it tells you which gear you're in. Next one down. Wheel speed sensor. Again, you can use this on a KZ or a Rotax Max or any cart or car. But you will need to measure the tyres and set the circumference in the system. So if I pressed edit, it wants to know how many magnets we got on the pickup, and it needs to know the circumference of the tyre in millimetres. Down to the next one is RPM. We'll go in and edit. So you can set the maximum RPM, which also relates to your graphs inside the device. Always leave it at 10 Hertz. Sometimes you have to change the RPM factor, but normally leave it on 1. And engine type, standard. Yeah, that's meant to be standard, but there's a spelling mistake. Press back. Next one is units, edit. I always leave it in kilometers per hour, but you can edit and change it to miles per hour. Yeah. And leave the distance. You can change the distance to miles to inch. Yeah, I prefer it in kph. press OK Celsius, and go and edit again. I'm going to set it back to kilometers an hour. Celsius, we all know what Celsius is. Come back out. And again, information button tells you what it's there for. Next one, format time zone. Sometimes you're going to have to change the time zone and the way it works. So I always leave it day, month, year, and it will drop down to +2, +0, 0, 1, or whatever you want. Depends which time zone you're in. This one is 16:59 and the actual time is 15:59. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in. Oh, finger trouble again. And change it to 1. There you go, 15:59, and according to my computer clock, it's 15:59. Click OK, takes you back out. Next one, System Information Factory Restore. You don't really want to be going down this route. Basically, displays the serial number of your Alfano 6, the firmware version, and allows you to restore it to factory settings. So if we press OK, it gives you the serial number. If you had a box 4 or box 12 connected, it would show it, and it gives you the firmware update, and it gives you the option to do factory restoration. If it gets to that point, you need to give me a call on 0770 280 375, or else you might have another problem with it. But factory restoration is basically wipes everything and puts it back to as it comes out of the box. Locking parameters. This menu allows you to lock access to tracks and settings. A 1 second press on the button at the bottom left will unlock the controls. I don't go into that one at all. And that takes you back to standby. So if we come out of that, that gives you the screen contrast you can change. You can look at edit the peak values. So lap time frozen when he comes in, RPM, speed and temperatures, you can change that. Synthesis of a lap. So basically, when you've come in to the paddock and stopped, it will display certain information. You can have that displayed for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, half an hour, or you can turn it off. So your competitors cannot see the information on there. You can look at it when you're back at the awning by pressing the data button. LEDs, this is how to do the LED setup. We'll cover that in a minute on a separate video. That's the LED alarms, min, max, right, left, and back to screen contrast. If I edit the screen contrast, if I just press it, yeah, you can see the change and what happens by changing it. I always leave it to 40% when it comes from the factory. Okay, so anybody got any problems, it's alfano.co.uk. You can get me on the phone 0770 280 375, and in the next session we will cover how to set the LEDs and the alarms. Okay, thank you very much guys. Bye bye.